I've been running Sonnet 4.5, which does
Okay.
seem a lot better and it's more intelligent. For example, I was making some edits to the Echo deployer yesterday, and I was making some content changes. And previously, throughout the content on the site, it had mentions of like how many nodes are in the entire ecosystem and stuff like that. And I
Right.
instructed it to make some changes as to remove mentioning the number of nodes, right? And what it did previously with Opus 4.1 was it would follow the instruction, but it wouldn't actually look at the entire code and capture, say, mentions of the number of nodes. But with Sonnet 4.5, it actually caught multiple instances where we had node counts in the content. So based on the instruction to remove mention of the number of nodes in the ecosystem, it actually was intelligent enough to go through the code even further and capture all
Okay.
instances. And prior to that, in Opus 4.1, it never did that before. And so there's some
Right.
further reasoning happening inside of the LLM, which is really cool to see.
Cool. So can we back up though?
Yeah,
Like,
too
I'd
far
love to
ahead.
just figure out an initial setup. What's the best way to set this up? Because I didn't have time to go through yet. Like you talked about using Claude Code and replacing cursor, right? And
Yep.
then I was like, okay, I didn't do that part. And then the other part is I think I wanted to dive in and understand like this command folder, or maybe you're calling it a source folder, and then understand like what goes in that Claude MD folder, like, or that document, like, and all
I
these
see.
other different setups. I'm just
Yep.
trying to figure that part out. So I guess you're using VS Code here.
I am. You
Okay.
can use Cursor or you can use Windsurf as well. Cursor and Windsurf are spin-offs, right, from Microsoft Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code,
Okay.
it's open. You can fork their code and build your product on top of it. And that's what Windsurf and Cursor have done. But I found that because of their modifications, for me, I just found it better to go straight to the source, which is Visual Studio Code anyways, and work inside of that, where first thing you want to do is install let me turn off this part, install this Claude Code for VS Code extension,
Okay. Uh-huh.
which will help you to natively work better within Visual Studio Code and Claude Code. Okay. So first thing you want to do is install that. And then you can see here that by doing that, you have this little Claude Code icon that you can open up, and this will kick off the Claude Code CLI. But before you do that, you
So
have to actually install the CLI, which is where,
okay.
let me open that up. Claude Code.
And CLI being like
Command
you're
line
talking to.
interface.
So
It's
that's how I was using Claude. I was using Claude by opening up Terminal on my Mac.
correct. That's correct. Yeah.
And you're saying this interface will replace that. Is that what's going on?
Or it is a terminal interface into Claude Code, except
Okay.
you are just doing it inside of Visual Studio Code. So for example, I can do this, right? I'm in terminal here in my window, and I can show you that, okay, I can run these commands, and basically I'm interacting with Claude at this point, Claude Code,
Okay.
right? Without this nice little interface here inside of Visual Studio Code.
Right. Okay.
So you can see I'm getting that interaction. And so I can even kick off Claude like this. And again, it'll be the same thing, but it's nice to have this little interface here, right? So you can see
Okay.
I've got the same interaction. Does that make sense? So the
Yeah.
thing with this is within the terminal, I have more commands like this, for example, the agents, but for some reason in here, if I do agents, I don't have that command anymore. So it's changed a little bit in terms of this portion, but within this terminal, I still have the previous commands, and you can see my custom status line, right? It's showing me the model, and I
Okay.
updated this command line by using they have a status line command. You see this, where it'll help you to set up a
Right.
custom status line. So this is a terminal interface for Claude Code if you wanted it, right? But then
Okay.
I use it primarily in this interface here, where it's more tightly integrated with Visual Studio Code.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'll just have to try it and see how much trouble I get into.
Yeah, so it's nice because this interface now shows you the past chats and things like that. And you can always, hopefully you've got your versioning set up so you can always revert back as necessary. So
I've seen, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
so as you're interacting with Claude and it's making changes, for example, here I have all these changes that have occurred recently. But if I want to just revert back, if I want to revert all of this, I just hit this little revert discard all changes button, and
Yeah.
that'll just delete everything that just happened during that session. Or if I
Okay.
wanted to add it to my repo, then I can stage it and hit this little button where it'll generate a commit message based on the changes. This uses
Okay.
Copilot, right? It doesn't use Claude Code. It's just built into Microsoft Visual Studio Code, where you've got their chat tool here. Where now, okay, so they don't charge you for, wow, they don't charge you for all of these now, which is cool. Okay, so cool. But I stopped using even Copilot. It's just straight Claude Code now.
So, so let's go back. What I've seen other people talk about Claude, the Claude MD file. What is in there?
Yeah, right now,
Did that get customized? Are you adding
yeah.
different stuff in there?
So what happens is when you have a brand new project like this, right? This is my sort of boilerplate project. What you want to do is when you start your project, if you run an init command like this, what
Mm,
happens is Claude will go through and read your code base. You see what's happening
okay.
here? It's going to read the entire project code base and get an understanding of what's the tech stack being used, what are the different sort of packages and et cetera, et cetera. It's going to just do an initial assessment and give itself a set of instructions. And that's what the Claude MD file is doing.
Okay.
Yeah. As you
So,
keep going, you'll develop more. It'll create, and eventually it'll create a dot folder in here and have additional settings. So let's say like custom instructions or commands that you pre-approved or MCP files that are very specific to this project only. There's going to be eventually a .claude folder that's generated. This project is very brand new, so there isn't much interaction, and that's why we only have a claude.md file at this time. Does that make
so
sense?
yeah, I understand that. So, how do you switch between different projects?
Just
Like,
a new, or you can open up a new project here inside of the same window, but I usually run multiple windows and one window per project, basically.
got it. And each
And
project will have its own Claude MD file.
that's correct. Yeah. So basically, this left channel is showing you the project folder, right? And this whole folder is going to be the repository. This is what gets sent up to and managed from GitHub repos.
Okay.
And then, yeah, so as you're interacting with this, you'll have this folder on your local, but then this is also being managed on GitHub with your versioning strategy. Does
Okay.
that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, and then typically I always have a docs folder where I can have instructions, and I typically organize my docs folder by date. So I'll have a folder, let's say we create a new folder. Today is the 30th. And so when I'm interacting with this project, I typically create a folder for that day, and various tasks that I create, I will actually document that inside of a docs folder so that one, I can see a history of the progress for that project, right? In addition to the GitHub versioning, but also by doing that, you're also giving or having context back to those tasks so that as you need to make edits and fixes and things like that, you can always provide that context back to Claude Code so that it knows what it did before.
Are those notes to you for yourself or for the
That's what I mean. It's for myself as well as for the
right?
LLM later as you work on different things.
Which is actually a good question going back to, do you have this is completely separate now, but do you have a system like if you are using ChatGPT or Claude, there's so many different thread conversations, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard to go back to it and think, hey, I remember that chat I had 4 days ago, and you
Yep.
can't find it.
Yep.
Is there, I've been looking for a way to make it easier to recall past chats because I feel like the search tool in ChatGPT or Claude is just lacking.
Yes, so Claude Code has this feature now. So previously, you'd have to go to hit the resume conversation, and then you can go back to any of your previous chats, and it'll
Right.
sort of pick up from there. So that's the way to do that inside of Claude Code. But the other way is, like I just said, is actually creating documents as you make progress in your project.
Okay.
So maybe it's okay, cool. So here we'll say, let's implement better off. Create a plan in slash docs, oops, slash docs slash 250930. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to put this into plan mode. So Claude comes with a plan mode, and it's going to ask for permission before it makes any sort of edit. This is the
Okay.
continue editing automatically based on my instructions in this chat. But then in the
Right.
plan mode, prior to you doing some sort of function creation or function update or anything like that, you wanted to actually think through and put a task list together. So Claude Code by default, it will create its own task list that's in a temporary memory and work from that task list. But what I do is I expand upon that task list and force it to actually create a document so that in a separate doc versus me having to go retrieve that past conversation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can,
That's
you can always reference the past conversation, but I find it better, especially for me to keep track of certain things and the details within that in a separate document. So let's do this. Like we create, I'm asking it to create a plan so that we can implement better auth, and you'll see what it's going to start doing. It's going to think through because it's already in plan mode, right? But put together whatever the plan is going to be. So let's see what it comes up with. Now, do I have a local .m? I don't have an M file. Okay, we're gonna actually it might just create an M file for me. So you see what it's doing. Like before with Opus 4.1, I don't think I remember it like having it go and like automatically fetch these documentation URLs and things like that. It seems to be more structured in planning and implementing various tasks. It seems
okay.
even smarter, and I think that's based on like everyone using this, and now they see a certain pattern of how things are implemented, right? So let's see. Okay, drizzle, got it. No, that's weird. Let's get a 404. Okay, so you see this plan document. This
Mhm.
is also new. With the previous version, it didn't actually show you a temporary MD file like this, right? It would show you the plan in this little window, but now
Uh-huh.
we have a plan, right? It's thought through it. It knows what it needs to do. Let's see, database. Okay, it's already knows that I want to use Drizzle for the ORM. It's going to create all the necessary API routes. It's going to put the auth pages in the auth folder, in an auth folder, which is good. Great. Yeah, this looks good. Okay, so we'll go ahead and say a plan is approved, and then we'll auto accept the changes. And now it's going to start. And so as part of this, it should create a new document in this docs folder, right?
Yeah.
Based
I
on
was
that.
ask you. It'll just show up
Yeah, so
when
you
it's
see
done.
now we have an updated to-do list based on the plan. See? And the first thing it's doing is creating the implementation document, which is what I wanted to do. Yeah, so look, it's going to even create a M file for me. Yeah, this is good. This is what I wanted to do. Now you're going to have a fairly robust, better auth implementation based on the tech stack that we're using, right? Because as you can see here, I do wanted to use Neon for the database, Drizzle with the Neon database, and that all works with better auths. Okay, so it looks like it's written. Did it write the doc yet? No, it's working on that. There we go. So if I open this up, make this window a little bit larger. So now we have our plan. So it's got the date right. Wow. See, this is also new. This whole like this flow diagram. And it's been creating these these documents with these flow diagrams in there. It wasn't doing that before. It's got the tables with the data, the fields in each table. Yeah, this is great. Yeah, these documents are getting better in detail than what it was doing before. And it's even added its own sort of testing strategy, which is awesome. Let's see how far along it is to create. Okay, so you see it created its own M files. if you follow along in this, it's basically teaching you how to set up an entire authentication system. Yeah, look at this to-do list. It's also instructed to use ShadCN, which is what we wanted to do. So overall, what I'm finding is that, especially for Next.js and React projects, because again, I think it's been trained so much now as people are using it every single day. Like it's getting better, and these models like 4.5 and also Codex, OpenAI Codex, they're just, I haven't tried Codex fully in detail, but they're getting really good. You just need to give it the high level and work
Right.
the details afterwards. Does that help you? Does that?
Yeah. Way more technical than like you're doing this coding stuff. I was thinking of setting up Claude to write better articles or to do more like strategy and thinking
Yep.
doc. So I'm not going to be really using it for coding, but it's just interesting to see this. So let me ask you this: if you know, I'm not really going to be using it for coding, like, and I found like when I installed VS Code, it took up a ton of memory. And am I installing it wrong, or should I try something like Windsurf? Is it less? Is it overkill for me? Like I'm wondering.
I think the others are going to be even heavier.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah.
right.
And I don't know. I didn't think Visual Studio Code was such a memory hog, but yeah, like,
I'll try it again and see.
okay.
Okay.
So, like, the other thing you can do, have you tried creating your own agent using Claude Code?
Not yet. That's
Okay.
like where I wanted to go. Like
Yeah.
I've got a couple things I've just done in Claude itself
Yeah.
that feel kind of agent-ish. And then I was thinking I need to like really turn it into an agent. Not even knowing what that really means, but I think it could just be done like almost like a standalone agent rather
Yeah.
than just
So if you're
so
in the terminal, right? So this does not have the agent's command for some reason, but if I'm in the terminal interface and I run the agent's command, right?
yeah.
Claude will help. Oh, that's screwed up. Okay, let me try that again. If I run the agent's command, okay, and let me change the model first of all. Model. Come on, why is it doing that? I'm gonna use the different. Why is that not working? Model. Okay, it's not allowing me to set the model. This is okay. Hold on a second. I don't know why this is bugging out. Try that again. Whoa, what happened? Why is it not? Oh, my Claude code just updated itself. You see that?
Yeah. Okay.
You see that? It just
So
updated
you're
it.
not on and I think you mentioned you're not on the $200 plan, right?
I am. You can tell because right here it says Claude Max.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's, oh, did you see
When am
my
I gonna hit my limit? Like in an hour?
I don't know which plan are you on.
Just the $20 pro plan?
Oh yeah. So I don't know when you're gonna hit that. Like
Okay.
I'm on the max plan and I have not hit any limits.
Oh,
It's been amazing. Robert, just a quick note, like how I approved this command here. I don't know if you
uh-huh.
saw, but I said, hey, you're approved to run npx commands. And that's when it set this new .claude folder and gave itself an instruction where I've given it a allow list now. Does that, you see that? So as you're interacting with Claude and you say, hey, see, look at this, allow this bash command, yes, and don't ask me again. Now it will add that command to the allow list. So that's
Okay.
when this local settings file will be created, and that's specific to this project. So
Okay.
back this here where while we're interacting together, it just updated itself to version 2.01, as you can see here. And so now you can see we're now using Sonnet 4.5, which is what we want. And if I go to the agent's command here, let me open this terminal up a little bit more. So if I run this agent's command, this will guide you to creating a new agent, right?
Okay.
So you don't even have to do that anymore, right? So you say, okay, what kind of agent do we want to create? Let's create a new agent. And I want it to be for this project. If you do the personal, that means that agent you create will be available for every single Claude instance that you run for your projects. So it'll be global versus I want it to be just for this project. So if I say, okay, create with Claude,
Okay.
I want an agent that will help me strategize content for my brand. Yeah, something
Yeah.
like that. will use battle tested content or storytelling frameworks, which I might have misspelled that, but that's okay. Yeah, we'll figure that out. Use proper hooks, etc. Okay, so just giving a fairly short idea of what you want the agent to do,
Yeah.
you'll be quite surprised at what it's going to do from that. And so now, once this agent is created, you can just call it at any time. And I'll show you how to
Okay.
actually implement that once it's
Okay.
done. Is this still running? Yeah, this is still running. Okay, we'll let that keep running. Let's open this. Okay, cool. So now it says, okay, so this has access to all the tools. Yes, I wanted to have access to everything. So if I hit continue, I say, yes, I wanted to use Sonnet. Yes, or maybe inherit from parent. Okay, you can set the color if you'd like. I typically just do automatic color. Let's see what it's doing. Okay, now we have a brand storytelling strategist agent. Use this agent when you need to develop compelling content strategy, brand narratives, etc. And okay, so I will save this. All right. So now you see in my project, I have this brand storytelling agent, right? You see that? We just made this. Now let me go back out of this and say, okay, at brand storytelling agent, write me a story about coaching youth soccer. And that's it. That's how you call your agent. You just do the at, and then it'll show you the variety of options available for that at command. You just initiate it. And now it's going to use that agent to basically write this story. And so as you're thinking of various agent types for your project, you can have multiple. One might be for social, one might be for
Yeah.
specific social media channels, et cetera, et cetera.
So let's just say that was one thing I thought about, right? Like when you say different channels, and if I have a specific set of instructions for this channel versus LinkedIn versus
exactly, yeah.
Twitter, where do I store those?
Yeah, so you see this .Claude
Or-
folder now created an agents folder. And because I asked Claude to make this agent project specific, you're going to see agents in this folder now.
Okay.
And you can go in here and you can modify this if you want, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty detailed. Look what it did based on just the one-liner.
Yeah, I just scanned it and I'm going, oh my gosh, look at that.
This has all the principles that you'd want it to be thinking through. It's pretty good. So like even the hooks and stuff like that, like what's missing now is like the audience, right?
Yeah.
You wanted to know what your audience is and stuff like that. And so that you might say, okay,
And I have different audience files, like working files for audiences. That's where I was like started to think about it, because I was repeating I was attaching these audience profiles to each chat, and I was going, I don't think I need to do that.
Yes,
right?
I would create a personas folder in your docs and say,
perfect.
So
Okay.
create a persona in /doc/persona or
Okay.
sorry, docs. Okay, for a U13 boy soccer family. Okay, so so let's walk through this exercise. Okay, so it should go, and is this still running? Okay, this one. So we got two separate instances of Claude running here. Okay,
Right.
so let's see.
Are you on a Mac? How do you
I'm on a
run,
PC. I have
okay.
both, but this current screen you're looking at is PC.
Okay.
All right, so let's see. Oh, it used the same agent to do the persona building. That's cool. So what I wanted to do is create the persona and then have it use the persona to rewrite this story, because it did write a story, the Muddy Miracle.
So how do you do this? I mean, can I ask you, like, when it generates the personas, I say I have my own kind of recipe for the personas.
Yeah.
Like, since it does it so well out of the box, like, there's always in the back of my mind going, like, where's my special sauce? Like, how do you look at it?
It's the thinking part, and beyond, it doesn't know who you are, what you are, why you are, right? But it knows these frameworks. It knows the idea of personas, right? But
Right.
you need to sort of mold it together. It's the tool. It's an amazing toolkit. and
Right.
all these other things we have access to, codecs, et cetera, et cetera. But it doesn't know how to put it all together based on who, what, why for
Right.
your brand and for your company and for your product. And so that's where it's different. The fact that we can create things like an agent and write a story in what, 2 minutes,
Yeah.
that's the power. You as a
Yeah.
single person or a small team, how long would this have taken just to get this initial draft previously? Forever. So I think that's
Right.
a really big change is
Yeah.
these toolkits make you so much smarter and faster and I think more capable.
And then it's up to me to modify what's in here or add my own. Okay.
For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. So
I
let me
thought that too, but there's always going, it did this shit so fast. Like, why do they need me? Like, sometimes there's just in the back of your mind going, anyone off the street, if they could do this, but
yeah. But they don't know how to do they know like how to put it all together? I don't think so. They
right.
need to have
Yeah.
that context. So let's look at this
Look
persona.
at
It's
that
pretty good.
demographic.
My God.
Is that you?
Wow, this is pretty good. So this is what I mean, right? I
Really?
wanted to create the persona, but I wouldn't have gotten to this level of detail. This is where the knowledge of the internet and the LLM's use of that knowledge comes in. Pretty freaking good. Wow. Okay, so now let's say, all right, rewrite the previous story using the new persona at brand strategist. Okay. So this is how you just keep building and having that
Yeah.
session.
Right.
And I think what you can also do is probably create a new folder called stories.
Mm.
And put the story in /doc/stories. Okay. Yeah. So now see, it read the persona. Now it's activated the agent and it's going to rewrite that story. So look, it found the muddy circle or muddy miracle. Awesome. While it's running, let's look at what it did on Better Off. Okay. What was created? 5 docs. Okay. Yeah, this is awesome. So this is another change with Sonnet 4.5 where look at this. Look, it created all of these docs for me based on the Better Auth implementation. First, it's a README file. Then it's a setup guide, how to get set up with your database and all that stuff, right? Implementation summary. Like, I love the fact that it's being so thorough in just even documenting the actions that it took, right? And so what happens now is that, good, now I can always refer back to these set of documents regarding my authentication setup and also instruct Claude on what it did before and make any necessary changes. So this is a big change from, I think, Opus 4.1, where it's like the level of thoroughness is
Okay.
it's very good. It's changed quite a bit. So let me close this. We'll close this. And then, so we got our persona. This is pretty damn impressive in terms of the persona.
It
Very
is.
typical.
It would have daily schedule. Oh
Oh
my
my
gosh.
God. Wow. Okay, I didn't even expect this level of detail. This is amazing. Love it.
So I guess my thinking is like that daily schedule would be
Mhm.
interesting if you were to like customize this for, let's say, your son's team,
Yeah,
right? You could just modify that daily schedule
for
to
sure.
like schedule of your particular team. This
Yeah,
is my practice schedule, right?
yeah.
And this is my game schedule. You could actually put the game schedule in there and start to understand the cadence of the
Oh,
games.
yeah, you put the whole season schedule in, right? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. Oh, this story changed quite a bit based on the persona, like super focused. I love it. This is awesome. Oh my God.
You're gonna have to write your son his own agent.
I know, serious. Look at this. The metadata. I did again. This is not something I was expecting to have as part of the written story.
Okay, so that's a good question, right? Like you did this, right? Obviously, like how to have pulled this out, right?
Yeah,
And you could actually modify this for your son, right?
yeah,
And so my question would be like sometimes like I just want to understand my risk, right? And my risk is like any other coach could come in here and make their own agent for their own kid. Like obviously this takes a lot of time and a lot of knowledge to even put this together, right? If someone starting from scratch would they probably spend a lot of time trying to figure this out and set it
yeah,
up. So I'm just thinking like, how do I guard my
yeah. I get it. So look, I'm a power user, and so I can put this together in a few minutes because I
Right.
know what needed to be done, and
Right.
I'm very familiar with how this product will work and how to get the things I need out from the LLM. But I think you're going back to more about how do I create a moat for my product. I think based on what you've told me so far, it's you have the human resources, yourself and your partners included,
Right.
that you just can't replace that in a way. But I think for startups, it's all about distribution.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. And same thing for me as we're building up Echo and Watt AI and stuff like that. So how do we differentiate so that the value prop is there? Like in fact, I talked to someone yesterday and they had a product where it's I can go to TradingView and or Robinhood or E-Trade or whatever investment platform I'm on, and I can get the same analysis that you're offering for your product. I grilled him on where's your value prop? How do you differentiate? And he's like, we use LLMs to analyze stocks. I'm like, so what? There's not enough differentiation value. And I also keep thinking about that kind of stuff where how do you create the moat? How do you protect what you're building and not be outdated by the time you actually release the product? And so, talking about that, I think leveraging what this sort of exercise we just ran through here during this session, leveraging the tools, speed to delivery or speed of delivery, and adjusting much faster than your competition, I think is where the advantages are. And I think tools like this, obviously, and also automation via N8N and things like that, I think is where we as startups especially can keep much further ahead of the incumbents that we may be going against.
Yeah. So this leads me to the next question.
Sure.
Just like you said, like you're a power user,
Yeah.
right? And when you scan the landscape of devs out there, right? How do you find other power users, or how do you assess whether the dev that you're talking to is a power user,
Oh,
or actually, I think the better question is like, actually is open to becoming a power user? Because sometimes I feel like you talk to some devs and they have this old conventional way of doing their projects, and
yeah.
this is me,
For
it's
sure.
like completely wiped it out.
Yeah, for
And
sure. For
so,
sure.
and if you had someone, for me, if you had someone like that on your team and you didn't assess that correctly, they're just gonna slow you down, right?
Exactly. I agree with you.
So
Yeah.
first, let me ask, like, how many power users are out there? Is it, and how quickly are other people adopting? And how do you find those people? And
Gosh.
how do you avoid the ones that are just like going to slow you down?
Yeah, those are great questions. I don't know that I have the answers, but one of them I think might be that hey, during my N8N journey, I talked to a lot of very technical people, right?
Yeah.
And a common response to N8N is they think it's too simple, right? And it can't be that easy, right? That's the response where, for
Right.
example, the best example is actually the AI agent in N8N, for example, right? Where it's using LangChain on the foundation level, which is a very complex tool, very capable tool. But the fact that you can create an AI agent with a few nodes, like to those technical folks, that's it. That's all you have to do. And they can't get their head out of the over complex thinking.
Right.
And that to me is a great indicator of where their initial mindset is. But then can they get over that hurdle and go, wow, like I don't have to spend 30 hours hard coding this or hand coding this thing, right? And get the same function in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and just put a webhook in front of it and have that function ready for me. So that I think those are the two things is find their current state of mind in their assessment of tools like Claude Code and what we just went through in this exercise, which I'm beyond impressed with the things that this agent put together. Really cool to see the outputs here, and then also then and things like that. Where hey, your old method of hand coding things and your hard coded tech stacks, et cetera, like it. Can you get past that and really implement it so that if I was hiring you, I don't have to be worried that you're going to charge me, I don't know, 100 hours versus what really would probably take you 20 hours. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think there's still that, especially like I've dealt with a lot of offshore guys, like their primary goal is to get money out of you, unfortunately,
Right.
right? And so they're gonna try and charge you many hours as possible. And I just hated that for many years. And that's partly why I started to code myself. But if you can find someone that is embracing those toolkits and understand the capabilities, and also you knowing what's possible, right? Because then they can't scam you as much.
And this is also a question of if you're filling lead roles, if you want a CTO or in that top role, like they can't be stuck there either.
Oh,
And this is maybe the perfect day. We should maybe set up a whole thing, another work session just for this. Why don't we build an agent for that to help us assess?
oh,
Yeah,
yeah, that's a good idea.
I think that would be amazing. That would like for a founder like me, like maybe a
Yeah,
non-technical person, let me help me screen this batch
yeah,
that
yeah.
I'm talking to.
That's a great idea. I like
I
it.
don't want them stuck because I see this thing like you said, this first pass at this persona. I see this and go, if anyone tells me it's going to take like weeks to do this shit, like I don't want to talk to you.
We just did it in 2 minutes. Come on.
I know, and like you said, well, we talked about this before. I know we did this in 2 minutes, but the noodling part is going to take probably is an ongoing process to noodle it and make
Yeah,
it
for sure.
proprietary.
But then
And
our
that's I'm
baseline
willing
is
to do
set.
that work,
Yeah,
right?
the baseline is set. We've gotten 80 to 90%, maybe further
Yes.
along, right?
So how do we screen so someone knows I'll get you to that 80-90% as quick as possible, and the rest of it is on you to noodle what you want to noodle your moat, I guess you could say,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, use.
and I guess the other question is, let's screen for, can we teach an old dog new tricks? Because isn't that where we're
Well,
going?
that's great. Yeah, yeah. I'm an old dog that's leveraging a lot of new tricks. Oh,
For
things
sure.
agents or other tools.
I'm an old dog too. So
Yeah,
can we
no, I get
I
it.
say ourselves, let's find old dogs like us,
Yeah.
right?
Robert, look at the whole ecosystem, right? Like the whole premise is that, especially some of the DNA stuff, like you don't have to spend the money and the time to do these things anymore, right?
Yeah.
Leverage the tools, leverage the LLMs, and get most of the way there, if not all the way there. And so, like some of the new content that's coming up with Echo, like it's hitting upon those pain points that we know people are having in terms of, I think the new messaging is around stop competing on budget, right? Where you might hire all these freelancers and consultants for certain things. It's like in the day with all these tools, like, it's just not necessary. It's just anyway. I think I'm preaching to the choir here. All right, let's see what it comes back with. That took us a
Maybe we
whole.
don't need a whole new work session. We'll just do it right here in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, we're doing it right now. An elite technical hiring evaluator with 15 years of experience. Okay. Evaluate technical candidates through multiple assessment channels, including resume, technical questionnaire, coding assessment, interview transcripts, reference checks. Okay. I think we need to modify this a little bit.
And how much can you discern these days from their GitHubs?
Yeah, it's a
That
lot of
hard.
them. You know what a lot of them will say is, "Oh, I can't show you my code because of NDAs, blah blah blah," which is true, partly true, right? You don't want them to share code that they shouldn't be sharing. So it's a little bit harder to. I think we need to say, okay, so add technical. Oh, let's modify this to assess their knowledge and openness to new tools like Claude Code and the AI related tools that impacted the efficiency of coding, etc. Okay. Technical hiring screener. Okay.
And I want to add, do you think it'll find in this command itself? It would be interesting to see, for me, it's can we evaluate the language and the words they use and the sentiment? Can we pull their sentiment about what's going on and the language that they use to understand their state of mind for this
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah, I
right?
agree. I agree. So I think this is where we need to spend a little bit more time with your very specific requirements and add that into this agent so that it is aware of what you want it to do. And I think the other thing that needs to be done is a initial information gathering, some sort of input form, whether it's a form, whether it's a video that you want them to send, a voice agent, interview
Yeah.
them. We don't know what that initial screener is, right?
Right.
But that initial screener should capture the raw data, and this agent
Shit.
should now process that data. And that's where I think an N8N workflow comes in. It could be the trigger for that workflow could be a form, or again, some sort of video or audio recording that is sent in.
Right.
And if it's audio, it could be via Telegram or Discord or something. And so as you get that audio, you transcribe it and pull the words out and let this type of agent process it and then send it to you as a Discord or Telegram or some sort of message and say, hey, here's candidate X, Y, and Z, or John Smith. Here is my assessment of their initial input along with their resume, blah, blah, blah. I think that's we're on the path there now, but this agent needs some refining based on your specific requirements, Robert.
Right.
But then put this agent in place with the some sort of automation via N8N, where you can take this agent and use it as a system prompt in one of the AI agents and use the Sonnet 4.5 as the model. So we're basically taking this prompt and now we created it using Claude Codes because it's already built to build these agents. And then you can take that prompt and put it in a AI agent in N8N along with the same model, which would be Sonnet 4.5. And so you basically replicate the same thing.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's a great. I'm glad you asked about these things because this
No,
is
totally.
the
I,
things you
I,
talked
I
about
think-
today and asked about. I think are pretty much universal for a lot of the people out there.
yeah. And my triggers, and today probably more so than before, but when people say, well, that's how we always do things, it's
No, you can't say that, man.
but I'm looking for someone a little more open-minded and a little
Yeah.
more imagination.
It has changed all of that. We can't be saying that anymore. Robert, good to see you, man.
Alex, this
By
was
the
really
way, we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, Robert.
cool.